All right, Tetairoa McMillan as a bust. I'm going to play devil's advocate on this. This is Dave's call. He's more or less going right around the same time as Zay Flowers. So we're looking more like wide receiver 28, 27, 28 for Tetairoa McMillan. In some places, it's going to be ahead of Flowers. In some places, that'll be behind him. But you're calling Tetairoa McMillan a bust, Dave.
It's good talent. I don't like that he's going like basically the round 5-6 turn. I think he's solid in round 6. I'd like him better in round 7. Of course, I'd rather get everybody a round and a half after their ADP. But I think that the Panthers are still going to spread targets around. They did that for much of last year. There was a spell last year toward the end of the season. Thielen averaged over 7 targets per game. But for the most part, the guys in that offense, they're right around 6.5 targets per game. I think that's where McMillan's going to end up living. So he's going to not only need volume, but he's also going to need really good efficiency, which might be asking too much of a rookie like this to go in and be a big factor and be a big stat producer for the Panthers. I like the way the Panthers finished last year. Love Bryce Young at an 8% touchdown rate to end last year. He looked awesome. Is that coming back this year? I got a question about that too. And so I don't want to draft McMillan, like call it 60th, 63rd, somewhere in that range. I feel like that's a little too close to the ceiling for a first-year receiver that's not known for blazing speed, but for big size.
Okay, devil's advocate on that is I don't buy that argument that they're going to spread the ball around. Adam Thielen is going to be 35 years old next month.
Fine.
Xavier Leggett's coming off a pretty irrelevant rookie season. I think they drafted Tetairoa McMillan, so they don't have to spread the ball around. And if you look at the wide receivers in this range, Zay Flowers, Xavier Worthy, McMillan, George Pickens, Travis Hunter, Jalen Waddle, I think Calvin Ridley falls in was one of the better ones in what I'm about to say. I think Tetairoa McMillan has the most target upside, among the most target upside. This guy could get 140 targets. You know, like I'd be hoping for 120 for Flowers. McMillan wouldn't shock me if he led every wide receiver. If you're looking at this list, I think the two guys that lead the way in targets are probably Ridley, McMillan, maybe Olave. But it's Devontae Smith, Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice, George Pickens, Ridley, McMillan, Debo, Waddle, Olave, Jennings, Kupp, Pearsall. That's the case I would make, is just so much target volume. Jamie?
I would say Rice per game when he's on the field. Yeah, I agree with you. I think they're going to, give this guy an opportunity to make plays. Whether that plays itself out, we'll see. I don't think Adam Thielen is going away because it feels like that's a guy Bryce Young loves. And for what it's worth, Joe Person, who covers the Panthers for The Athletic, I think it was last week, they did a breakout for every player, and he listed Xavier Legette as the breakout player for the Panthers. He is a former first-round pick, so could he have an opportunity just to be better than he was a year ago, which isn't a big stretch, but also how much of a factor will he be? I just think that they went out and drafted McMillan for a reason, almost exactly the way you laid it out. Like, you see that Bryce Young took a big step forward in the second half of the season after he was benched. You saw this offense starting to look competent. It's one of the more underrated offensive lines in the game, and so for what Dave Canales is looking to build and to find an alpha in this receiving core, he may have done it. That being said, this isn't a speed guy. This is a guy I think is going to have to win on some contested catches. I think touchdowns are going to really matter here for him. So how much will he live up to where he's getting drafted? I think it's a great spot for him because you look at the guys after him, you start talking upside. You also see a lot of the downside. Debo Samuel and his situation, Jalen Waddle and what we saw last year, et cetera, et cetera. And the guys in front of him, look, he's like a Calvin Ridley, on a questionable passing game where he's going to be most likely lead guy. Pickens is the second guy. Rice is suspended. Flowers, we just got through talking about, so this is a good spot to take a chance on somebody that I think if he hits, you're going to be thrilled about it. So I think it's also like what we see with a lot of these rookies, second half of the season, I think will matter because until they figure out okay, Thielen 35 and Legette not a, maybe even a start worthy player on his own team. Like if McMillan earns those opportunities, I think he's going to run away with it.
How do you guys rank McMillan, Calvin Ridley, and Zay Flowers in full PPR?
Zay first, McMillan second, and Ridley third.
Right now it's McMillan, Ridley, Flowers.
How about in half PPR?
McMillan,
Flowers.
Ridley, Flowers.
It's going to be the same order for me.
And same.
Anytime you start to take away the PPR factor and go down to non-PPR, Flowers loses for me because I don't think the touchdowns are coming.
No, but but he's not a big receptions guy.
Right. Yeah. I think that's where McMillan and potentially Ridley could lose.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's not. Flowers is third for me in any format, but the further away we get from PPR, it's harder to buy Flowers.
All right, because that's an interesting take.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking about the receptions, it's thinking about the touchdowns, but I could see that. Okay.